Alrighty, team, are you ready? I know I am. This is Lunistis Any Percent Glitchless Hannah with Nestani versus Jaxler. Take it away, my friends. Let's go.
Alright, hey, what's up, everybody? Gonna be running some Lunistis for you folks today. I'm Jaxler. I'm one of your runners.
And I'm Nestani. I'm the other runner today.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen Lunistis before, this is a indie 3D platformer that came out in November of last year. It's really good, kind of got that PS1 Sega Saturn vibes to it, kind of almost Sonic style. We're gonna be running Glitchless Any Percent, so there's like menu glitches in the game that let you skip like half of the levels. Those suck, so we're not going to do any of them. And then we're also playing as Hannah, who's like the default character for this game. So I think that's pretty much everything we want to cover beforehand, right, Nestani? So
yeah, I think we're good.
yeah, so we're going to go ahead and make new files, and then time is going to start as soon as we press start here. So if you're good to go, we'll start count from 3, and we'll start time on go. Alright.
I'm ready.
Cool. 3, 2, 1, go. Good luck.
September 2nd.
Good at it.
Alright, so the first thing you're going to see us do at the start of the run is a trick called spin jumping, where we are going to be inputting a jump and then a spin a short little bit afterwards, and that's going to allow us to carry some of the momentum from our jump and spin together to give us a boosted jump that's a lot higher than what we can do in either situation. And so we're going to be using that throughout the run in order to do cool like platforming skips and stuff like that. There's not like a whole lot of like horizontal movement tech at the start. The biggest key that we're looking for is to cut our lines as closely as possible. You know, there's 2 ways of going faster than somebody else in a race. You either move faster or you run less of the track. So we're going to try to run less of the track at the start here. And so that's 1-1 for me. And we're going to be going into 1-2. The tricks in these first couple of levels are pretty front-loaded. We're going to do a sequence at the start here, where instead of taking the sort of normal circular path, we're going to be cutting up some of the extra geometry that they have lying around here in order to get by, and then doing a cool little jump off these lanterns here. So yeah, pretty dense at the start of these levels, but not too much going on afterwards. These first couple of levels are trying to get players like introduced to the game and stuff like that. You'll notice as well that we're trying to avoid attacking enemies as much as possible. Every time you hit the enemy in this game, it like does like a weird kind of like slowdown effect in the game, like right there on my end. And that loses you about like a quarter to half second depending on the enemy or the situation. And that also applies to some of these pink crystals that we're using as platforms too. So that's something we have to consider when we're trying to optimize this game here. But yeah,
And also when we get hit, we also slow down, as you saw from me, because I just got absolutely slammed by a guy.
Yeah.
So, if you get hit, you also just like get a second thrown out from you as well. But I am now at the end of 1-1. Still a decent time.
Yeah.
And now we're going to move into World 2. And basically how this game is kind of set up top down is that essentially there are 7 worlds. There are 2 acts of each world. So we have an Act 1 and an Act 2, very similar to, you know, Sonic games of the past. And essentially all of these worlds pretty much introduce a new mechanic every single time that we go into a new world, or they like rehash and revisit old mechanics that you have been shown before by the game. And so one of these new mechanics is this little blue bubble here, which basically goes along this blue dotted line and onto a track, and basically it just floats us over. And then we have these little beach balls that act as bouncy platforms. And then essentially with these blue bubbles, what we want to do is pretty much ride them the whole way, because typically they move faster than our base movement. And so you'll actually see us ride these platforms to the very end. And then when we jump out, we actually get a little bit of a boost out of the bubble as well, which we can either go more vertically with, or we can cut it a bit shorter. And so as we ride here, a second part about these beach balls is that if we use our spin attack off of them, we get the same height as if we would spin jump. So we can use the spin jump technique to get super height with our jump, or with bouncy platforms. And so
So worth noting here is that there are those like trees that are poking out of the side of the platforms there. That's actually something that was introduced as a stage balance change in the most recent patch of the game. So all glitchless runners play on the most current patch of the game because there are a couple of stage balance things that actually make the run slightly faster. So we're going into 2-2 here with one of the cooler vertical movement sections of the run. We're going to be doing a lot of spin jumps off of some of these tiny little middle platforms in sequence here. So we're going to be quiet for just a second because it's a little costly if we fall here, but this looks really fun to do. So try to nail it.
I got mine.
Got through there too? Yep.
Nice. Ooh.
Got a little bit caught under the leaves of one of the trees there, and I was panicking just a little bit there.
Just a little bit. Actually, a fun thing about this game too is that I know Jax has done it before, and I know I've done it before. And basically, like, if you actually miss one of those platforms there, what you'll see, like, a lot of runners do is actually pause the game and then try to line it up so they don't, like, fall all the way down, because you can actually kind of pause the game and then, like, move to where you want to go, because we run the game using IGT or in-game time rather than real time, right? And so whenever we pause, we actually pause our timer as well. So sometimes you can do little cheeky strats like pausing the timer to just make sure that you can recover a bit better, and try to not die, which can be really funny to watch sometimes, because you're like, oh, they're just pausing, but then like you don't actually get punished for pausing, which is kind of a nice thing about the game as well.
Coming towards the end of coming towards the end of 2-2 here, we're kind of just running in a straight line for a bit until we get to the end of the level. Again, first couple of levels here are really strat dense at the start, so this would be a really good time for any plugs or messages we'd like to have right here.
Fantastic. Then instead of doing it in my intro like what would be logical, I guess I'll tell you all about Corathon. This is a mutual aid fundraiser raising money for Cora, a friend of the community who's looking to move to a place who's going to accept her for who she is. Due to the anti-trans legislation in the state of Texas, Cora needs help with moving expenses so that she can safely move somewhere else that's LGBTQ plus friendly with their laws and their communities. We're here putting on this marathon to support and provide for a trans friend in need, and we are so grateful for any donations that you can provide to help. So be sure to type !donate in chat to donate. Find places to do that. We have a GoFundMe that's currently raised $2,705, which is fantastic, and that's across only 60 donations, so there's a lot of generosity for such a great cause here. And if I can, just because listening to y'all in the little setup there, I got very curious. You said this game is extremely optimized, but I see it's only from 2022. It's been out for maybe a year here. How did it get optimized so quick, and what does that involve?
Yeah, so I can actually take that one. So the reason that this game is so optimized is partially because of me for this specific category, and partially because of the IL runners, Nagelfar, I think is how you say it, his name, and Plush. Those two have really pushed the IL 80% glitchless runs, and so basically whenever I came to this category and I was looking at Jax's time, I thought I needed a whole lot to beat his run, and so what I did is I went to the IL records and I copied all of their strats and put them back to back to back to back to back to back in the run, and then that has made it so my current PB is 6 seconds within my summer best right now. I have a 24 and my SOB is an 18.
So if we get to the end of 3-1 here, I'd hate to interrupt, but we've got a little bit of a strat going up in here, where we're going to do a spin jump early off of that rail right there. There's kind of like a cutscene there where we go up the loopy-loop like you would in a Sonic game. And if we jump off of that early, we can actually skip to a later part of the track there and get to the end of 3-1 a little bit faster. So we're going to be quiet. Yeah, we're going to be quiet for the start of 3-2 here, because we're going into one of the most difficult strats in the run, which is Pink Crystal Skip. We're both going to be quiet here for a second. Hopefully we get this rather quick.
Nope.
I got it. Whew, okay. Yeah, so this is one of the early run killers. We're doing a really long, extended spin jump off of that. Then I'm going to grab some super speed off of that platform and use that to catch the water rail on the other side. Combining that with a jump off the end of that one is going to let me get further up into the level. And then I've got one more skip at the end here where I'm going to be jumping from one water rail to the other, and that's going to take me towards the end of the level. It's actually kind of interesting because one of the guest playable characters in this game, Tuki, because she has access to 3 jumps, she actually has a much faster way of skipping this entire level. That requires using a different booster. It's pretty cool.
And I got absolutely ratioed by this level, so that's nice.
Alright. So now we're going into World 4. We're probably going to be quiet for most of this, because this is a rhythm platforming section. And every note on the beat causes like these platforms to go in and out of cycle here. And so as a result, we have to move very precisely and carefully in order to make sure that the platforms line up perfectly at the end for the fastest possible strats here.
Yep. And I'm now finishing up at 3-2. And yeah, essentially, the platforms actually change with the music. So if you're listening to Jax's stream, essentially, the snare hits are on 2 and 4, and that's basically the alternating of the platform cycles. And as Jax mentioned, we're kind of on a set platform cycle. And some people, I know Jax uses the audio cues specifically for it. I actually don't. You can also just see the notes at the bottom. So normally I just look at the notes and then I just watch them myself. And then I make my way through the level like this. And essentially we're trying to make a specific cycles. And so normally if you hit the very, very beginning of the level and you hit that cycle, you normally can just hit the cycle for the rest of the run unless you have a complete meltdown, which can happen because, you know, just because it's basic platforming, that's like prime time to mess things up, you know what I mean? So
I hit 4-1 reds, so I'm going into 4-2 now, so I'm going to be quiet here because this one is even harder than the one you just saw me do.
Yeah, and part of that is because of the jump at the very beginning, which you're going to see him do. Essentially, you jump off this like Durin or Candy Pop or whatever else you want to say. I always say Candy Pop. Noxus has corrected me about 300 times about what it actually is, and I never ever remember what he has said to me. I think it's Durin, so? And essentially you jump off of the first Durang, and then you get to the top, and you try to make a cycle known as the red cycle.
And going for it.
He's going for it. And essentially, if you make that cycle, you check it out. I'll try to hit myself as I'm just now coming into 4-2.
I like turbo chickened out. I almost died like 3 times there, but I managed to survive there. So I'm gonna be very off cycle here, but I'm alive and I'm ahead of the sun, so I'm big chill. So in this section right here, it actually goes into double time, which means that like every beat of like the measure, it swaps out like the platforms.
Well, I hit red cycle.
Nice.
And that's what red cycle is. Basically, you get to that platform right as it's disappearing, so it looks really suspicious. But you know, it's just a tight cycle, you know. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I could have hit red cycle, but I chickened out. So.
Hey, I feel it.
It was a borderline case, and like it was one of those cases where it's like if I hit it, great. If I don't, I like potentially throw the race. So I made a judgment call. Lost like a couple of seconds there to just kind of trying to weasel my way out of that situation. Probably should have died for it, but I survived somehow. So.
Yeah. A good thing about like a lot of these cycles too is that you can kind of tell when you're gonna hit it versus when you're not gonna hit it, which can be very useful because you know once you know if you're running the game, especially in a marathon setting, you want to know whether you're gonna be able to hit a cycle or not, and so you can kind of just tell through like your micro movements if you're gonna hit one or not, because specifically the one at the beginning of 4-2 is so tight that you can just tell if you have an even slight kind of movement mishap, you're pretty much gonna miss it. And so you can kind of just tell immediately if you are or not.
Alright, so Nestani's cleaning up 4-2 here. I'm going to be going into Stage 5 Act 1, which this world is probably my favorite in the game casually.
Same.
And it's really fun in the run too, just because the environment art here is just so cool. And then there's also just like a lot of cool booster movement strats that you can do. So one of the things that we didn't get the chance to mention just because this run is so chaotic is that whenever you go into one of these like booster pads or rings, if you spin after getting launched by them, you can actually divert your angle into a different direction and carry that momentum elsewhere. And so in that example, that one let me cut a corner right there. But you can also do it to skip and like mess around and do some really cool movement stuff with it as well. So you're going to see me go for another one right here. This is actually going to allow me to land a little bit sooner, so I get on these booster pads. And then we're going to take a bit of a shortcut here to this blue crystal right here. And I'm going to spin bounce off of these mushrooms, similar to like what you can with the beach balls. You can actually spin on top of these bounce pads, and they give you extra height. And so, do a little bit of a shortcut there on the vines here. These vines are pretty similar to the water slides that we saw, but the catch is that for most of them you have to hit a mushroom switch in order to activate them. Another kind of thing you'll notice here is we're generally trying to avoid running on slopes. Not being completely, like, fully timed theory, but we believe that, like, for whatever reason, when you're running on, like, slanted or sloped surfaces, that you move a little slower. And then right here, I'm going to do a skip where I jump off this rail intentionally to skip another loopy-loop cutscene, and then spin off of the booster there in order to get a little extra distance. Whenever you do these, like, little spin cancels, as they're called, off the boosters, you actually get extra, like, momentum conservation, so that can be really nice. And then I hit the strat at the end too, where you do 2 really tough spin bounces in order to get up the mushrooms, and skip sort of the curved section of the path as well. Wow, okay, I got a 203. That's really good for trying to talk over it. I'll take it. Now we're going into 5-2. This is probably the most broken level in the run for in terms of like skips you can do. So this level is broken up into 3 major sections that you have to find a water crystal in and break in order to reach like the final platforming section of the area. And you're intended to take one of each of these 3 different rails, break the water crystal, and then get launched back into here and then repeat the process for the other 2. But we have ways of circumventing that. So we're actually going to be going down the middle path here, and we're actually going to be breaking 2 of the water crystals from 1 path here. So you're going to notice there's no music on my end at the moment. What the game does, and it's a really cool effect casually, is like different instruments in the backing track pop in as you get further progression into the water, right? Or into the level, right? And so I'm going to do a big, looks like a leap of faith, but it's actually a really free jump to get to this corkscrew platform. Then we can jump to these springs. And this is where things are going to start to look a bit different from casual play. We're going to go ahead and grab this checkpoint right here, immediately turn around, and we're going to go ahead and take kind of this booster over here from one of the other paths that we're not supposed to be able to access. It's a pretty straightforward jump if you use like the momentum from the speed booster panels. So whenever you're walking on one of those high speed panels, you maintain that speed until you touch the ground. So if you stay airborne there, you can keep the speed. And so what we can do here is we can jump to this crystal, break it, and then return to checkpoint. And that'll save the progress of hitting that crystal and get us back to the checkpoint that we set, which then lets us go to this crystal that's right here. And that lets us get 2 crystals from 1 single point in the hub over here. Now, because we did this all out of order, the music cues are all going to completely break, and so the music's going to sound really funny. And it's going to sound a lot more funny the more instruments that start to get overlaid, but see another couple of spin bounces here in order to get up here. It's actually one of the few places where we hold a neutral input, so that we don't accidentally like bonk into the wall or anything like that. So yeah, so from what I can see, Nestani on stream like is not super too far behind, so there's still a couple more strats that can like really cause this race to be super close. It's one of those runs that it's just like, it's so optimized that like the tiniest little mistakes or like improvements can like really make the difference in like a race or a PB. Alright, so I'm going into the final section here. We got all 3 of the water crystals, and I'm going to do a big spin cancel there in order to get across, hit the switch, and for whatever reason, like, Hannah, like, grows in size here.
Mode?
I don't know why. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, pretty much if you enter the bubble right as it gets enlarged, you become enlarged, and then you go big O mode, and you become Big Hannah. And essentially, if you enter it a bit later, you're normal size. So I think I'm normal. No, I'm in a little big right now. Never mind.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I'm normal size. I'm not.
I'm definitely jumbo size at the moment, but not a huge deal. It doesn't really affect anything other than visually. Oh my god, that's a really bad fall.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I think you're ahead of me now. Because I missed the jump on the last railing.
Oh, that is one of the most brutal misses
That's tough.
Of all time. Surely I won't miss it too, right, guys? All right, cool. Imagine we both
see what I
missed it.
mean?
It's like, never mind, it's the
So
same.
we skip a lot of the. Well, there's not really a checkpoint here anyway, but we skip a lot of the checkpoints because they usually require us to go a bit out of the way. So that's a little unfortunate, but.
But luckily, that's actually probably one of the best places to die in the run in general, just because you don't have to do the whole level over again. Sometimes we literally don't hit a single checkpoint at all, and so you just like actually just like like you have to do the whole level over again. Like for example, like in 7-2, which we will get to in a bit, like if we die there, we have to do the whole level over again.
Yeah.
Which is you know, maybe not the most fun thing in the world, but I guess I'll take over here from now. As we're in 6-1, this is the second to last level, so we have 4 more levels to go. I think now would actually be a pretty decent time if we had any more reads. This would be another good time to do so, as a little straightforward.
Yeah, go for it.
Through this level.
Copy that. I want to just give a huge shout out because this was a very impromptu event, so it couldn't have been possible without all of the help of volunteers, the runners, and even the viewers in chat, everybody who's donating. Any and all of the support we're getting is so appreciated because you can help someone who desperately needs it in a time of need like this. It's genuinely so important that we support people in these moments, and the fact that this all came together so quickly is really heartwarming. Actually, just being able to watch the donations tick in while I was at work, I was like, wow, it's starting off fantastic, and we're only a couple hours in. We still got the rest of today. We still got all of tomorrow, and I can't wait to see how far it goes. So thank you all, genuinely, everyone behind the scenes, everyone in chat, and especially the runners. Everyone's so kind, and I'm very thankful to work with people who are so welcoming and getting to learn so much about these games. Like, I'd never would have heard of Lunistis, realistically speaking, outside of this, and now I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, I really like the art style here. It gives me, like, the PS1 vibes that I crave when I'm feeling really nostalgic, and I'm just thankful, I guess. Another question for you both, because I can't help but get really curious. Or I'll just forget my question entirely. That's also cool. So how are you both doing? I guess we're just gonna roll with that.
I'm doing great.
Yeah, no, it's been really fun. I'll mention with, like, you know.
Okay, I remembered now.
Oh, go for it, go for it.
Okay, what in particular had attracted you to this game is the word I'm going to use. Did you see it beforehand and say, that's got speedrun potential, or maybe were you playing it casually and you just recognized that's exactly what I'm looking for?
Yeah, so for me, my friend Corundum4 recommended me the game, and so I played it, and she's like, oh, maybe this game is, like, too anime for you, and, like, she was kind of right on that front, but I played it, and then I couldn't stop playing it, right? And I'm like, I have to speedrun this because I just can't get this out of my system. I'm like, oh, I'll do one run and then it'll be out of my system and I can move on. Because I generally tend to run older games, right? I like to run stuff that isn't, like, on release. It's not usually my thing. But this game was very different in that regard. So that's kind of my story with it.
And my story is I saw Jax running it and I was like, this game looks sick. And then I decided to try it out and I was like, this movement feels very nice. And then I was like, all right, that's it. Because for me, movement is a huge part of, like, the games that I enjoy. So I just really vibe with the movement of this game. And then I just literally haven't put it down since I started playing it. So and so right here, I'm actually going to go for probably the hardest trick in this run. It's not that scary, but it is slightly...
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's like no.
As you can see, I missed it. It's fine, but essentially you need, like, max coyote frames off of a ledge, and then also 2 max height jumps to hit it. And if any one of those things goes wrong, oh, also a perfect angle. If any one of those things goes wrong, you just don't hit it. But luckily, since we're actually playing this game, pause here.
Oh, I barely missed it.
Ah,
tragic.
And so, actually, since we're playing this game, this is actually an important point. Since we're playing this game, if you're speedrunning this game, generally you're playing without smooth turning on because you can get tighter angles, and that's actually the reason why that trick isn't scary because we have smooth turning turned off, and so we can actually just like, you know, move left and right really quickly rather than going a slow arc left or right. And that's actually part of the reason why we're able to do that trick. And then if we miss it, we can just turn backwards and land on the platform.
Yeah.
Without an issue.
So I unfortunately took an extra death on the rails there because the game made my jump. But luckily I managed to grab the checkpoint there, so it really didn't end up costing me all that much. But it's not the end of the world because we're coming up on World 7, which has a very high risk of total disaster if things go wrong.
And speaking of high risk, I actually did one of those high risk jumps where we basically use our spin attack to keep our momentum from that booster, and then we just fly across. And then actually, on the topic of boosters, whenever you are like super speed or have boost, if you land on the ground, you'll essentially have all your momentum absolutely sharked and just like removed from yourself. But as you saw, what I did there is I actually jumped immediately as I landed. And if you jump immediately after you land with hyperspeed on the ground, you can actually keep some of your momentum forward. So you'll see that right here as I jump through the middle of this. I'm going to hit this guy and then keep my momentum a bit more there, and then actually make it to that platform a bit earlier than intended. And now I'm just going to kind of do this ring around the rosy with these spin jumps. And then again, using my spin after getting launched to just increase my speed, because we actually move faster than this green railing on that specific boost, because a lot of the railings, some of them move faster than others, and on this one it's actually faster to use the spin attack in order to increase your momentum and then land on the railing afterwards. So right there is actually one of the few enemies where you actually do want to kill the enemy, because he's literally right in your way, and if you don't, you actually just get smacked. And then right here, I'm going to do some more of that momentum conservation with my single jump as soon as I landed on that platform in order to get to these disappearing platforms. And as you can tell, this disappearing platform is basically the new mechanic that has been introduced in World 7, as well as these purple platforms. Now, these purple platforms, they don't shark your momentum like regular ground does, but it just keeps whatever momentum that you have. So if you have green boost momentum, you'll keep the green boost momentum, but if you land on these without green boost momentum, then you won't have it, right? And then same thing with these disappearing platforms. We're actually going to go for a strat that just got found by Noxus, and I just did it. Let's go.
Nice.
And it saves a little bit of time. Very nicely done. I literally, this is the second time I've ever done it, so very nice.
Yeah, I'll be going for it in a moment. I think I'm about 30 seconds out from you. I'm just coming up across Earth. And then Nestani will be going into 7-2, which also a very scary level.
Yeah. This is the level I was talking about earlier, where if I mess up anything and die, I have to restart the level pretty much. And so I'm gonna not do that, hopefully. But
that's okay. I'll just casually throw down a 35.
Oh yeah,
I golded.
That's fine. Let's go.
Like a half-second gold.
And so right here, basically what 7-2 is basically you go backwards through the level. So right now I'm in World 6 and I'm about to go to World 5, and I'm also about to shut up. And okay, that's that. So what you saw there is I kept my momentum from that purple booster by using my spin attack, and then I flew through the checkpoint, and then I hit the glowing mushroom in order to basically make my way there. And by doing that trick like that, we're back in World 4, or like the World 4 revisit. And these platforms essentially start when the level starts. A lot of the time, this game does a really good job with like if something is out of your range, it actually won't be moving. So like if you see enemies in the background, like very far away, they actually won't be moving. But because these platforms are in sync with the music, when the music starts, the platform starts. And so we're trying to make a very specific cycle. And so if we move perfectly like I just did, we make that cycle where I'm able to go on those blue platforms without having to stop and wait for any of them. And essentially if you miss that, you miss out on 2 seconds. And so right now I'm on pace to get a 19 at the end of this level if I play my cards right and don't absolutely beef the rest of this level. And another thing is you saw that I got the hyperspeed, and essentially these blue bubbles carry hyperspeed into them. And so we can do things like that where we carry it through all of the blue bubbles, and then we go through them really quickly, and then also can skip one of those umbrellas. And then right here, you're actually going to see me use my momentum a bit later, so I can get to this third platform jump on this second one, get hit by that guy because I'm really good. Jump up here to this lamppost. So I won't get a 19, I'll get a 20 here. But I'll hit this boost, and basically what we're going to do is our final skip of the run, where we're going to hit the elevator. So I hit the elevator at 20, which is really good. It's 1 second out from where you want to be, which is a 19. And then essentially that elevator is a very, very long, like a vertical thing where you have to sit and watch it the whole time. But if you hit the side of it and fall down and die, you actually trigger the checkpoint up at the top, and then you can skip that big long elevator sequence. And then time is going to stop for me when it fades to black, so right about now. And that is my time. And did you die?
Yeah, I died.
Oh.
I died. I took damage and it killed me. That's a new one. Well,
that is
the race was close up until that point.
Yeah, it was close. Let's a record show.
That's unfortunate.
I
got to see it all one more time.
Yes, sir. It's a sick level, so I'm down.
Yeah, again, we don't take any of the checkpoints here because of the cycles we're trying to make, so... And it sucks, too, because I hit the new strat there to get to the third platform, but I messed up the jump and I hit the sea urchin thing.
Oh, yeah, the guy. I did too. And so, Jax is going to go for this trick again. He does it a bit different than me. I like to go through the checkpoint because I don't like when tricks are easy. He actually does it the easier way and the proper way. And so he hits it again, so it's actually the same. And it's the same. But so he should again hit this platform selector. So he shouldn't have to he shouldn't have to miss any of these reds, and he should also line up with the blue platforms as well. And so he'll go through here, make sure he's not falling through, and then also these rolling pins. I don't think we mentioned it in World 4, but they also move with the beat of the music as well. And so this whole level is just kind of a revisit of the world. So now we're back in World 3. We're kind of going backwards in the worlds, and so now we have the World 3 slides, the World 3 like balloons that we jumped off of, and then now we're gonna basically make our way back into World 2 after we do this hyperspeed part here. And this is what I was talking about. So he hits the green speed platform, right, and then he keeps the momentum with this booster, attacks mixed all the way to the blue bubbles, which conserve our momentum. These blue bubbles normally move a lot slower, but because we keep the speed from the green platform, we just zoom right through them, and then skip an umbrella, and then make our way over here again, jumping as soon as we land on the second umbrella in order to get to the third umbrella immediately. And Jaxler's gonna go for this shot again, and nice, and we're out of there. And so essentially, you're gonna see the same thing, where he's going to where he's going to go across these platforms, hit the boost, and then go right into the elevator. 21, very nicely done. And then again, normally that elevator is like, I think 10 or 15 seconds, like rising up, which is actually criminal.
The worst.
And it's just so funny. All you have to do is just hit the elevator, and then you save 10 seconds. It's actually one of the best skips that was found. Yeah. It's like, oh, cool.
So time will be coming up for me soon. It's when the screen fades to black. Time. Alright, that was a 29:04 IGT. So that would have been like, what? 2 minutes? That would have been like a 27. If I didn't like mega choke. But that's okay. It happens.
Yeah. Actually, if you want to check your IGT time in file, mine is 26 flat. What about yours?
29:04.
29:04? Word. Unfortunate. That's kind of just what happens with 7-2. Sometimes you just you mess up literally one tiny thing, and then it's
all over.
You're like, cool, I'll just go.
Yeah.
That's actually part of the reason why I choose to go through the checkpoint, is in case I miss, I have at least a checkpoint to reset.
Yeah. But I just always hit the checkpoint, also, so I stopped doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, you either hit the checkpoint, you don't hit the trick, and basically, if you go through the checkpoint, you have to have a very specific angle in order to hit the trick. It's stupid. What he does is easier. If you all learn this game, do what Jax does. It's don't do what I do. That's just golden rule of thumb, But so that's Lunistis. I'll do a couple shout outs real quick. I just wanted to shout out Plush and Naglfar. I mentioned them earlier when they asked me about it, but they are like the IL runners of this game, and they kind of trade records back and forth and find like very small optimizations in every single level. And like this run would not be where it is without them, and so I just wanted to give a shout out to them because I personally just use their strats because I'm like, oh, they're smarter than me and better than me. I will just yoink and then put them in the run. And then I normally would shout out Jax, but I guess I'll shout out Jax. He's the one who got me into this game, so big shout outs to him. He drags me into a lot of the games that he runs. And if you all are interested in running this game is $5.
Yeah, it's literally only $5.
Just play it.
Yeah.
Just play it.
So
It's a
after
really
after you
fun
donate
game.
for Corathon, go buy this game.
Yeah,
Please.
exactly.
Please.
It's literally $5. It's a really fun casual experience. The developer DK, he's actually dropping a new patch in the coming months, Lunasis 1.1, where he's gonna add another character to the game, and I think 4 like more levels, and just another plethora of like quality of life things as well. So, you know, you're even getting more content past just your $5 as well. And if you're interested in speedrunning the game, the speedrunning community actually lies within the Lunistis Discord, like just the fan Discord of the game. So if you join the game's Discord, we have a little channel there for speedruns if you want to, you know, come hang out with us, learn the game, you know, anything like that. And then that's my shout outs. That's all I have.
Yeah. I'll just quickly shout out a couple other runners: Stillcat, White Noise, Portolino. A lot of people who have been pushing like the any percent category on the full game side of things. I also want to shout out the fact that Nestani will actually be running this at SGDQ coming up at the end of May / start of June. So we'll have the numbers for that for when on April 11th. But yeah, make sure you check out that. Nestani's going to be running that, and I'll be on commentary for that. So just want to shout out Oz as well for inviting us to be a part of this. We love getting to show off this game to people. So yeah, buy the game, or I will find you in your sleep. And I think other than that, I think we're good to go. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you folks enjoyed the rest of the event. Trans Rights. Have a good one, everybody.
Trans rights based.
Peace.